Theodore, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, may I ask Theodore's permission to start the talk?
Okay, we can start.
Wandami Theodore, and good evening, everyone. Good morning for everyone in the Western Hemisphere. Welcome to the lesson number 73 on Visuddhimagga, Patisambhidamagga, and commentaries. I am Brother 𝐕𝐢𝐬𝐻. I am the meeting co-host who will be helping Theodore and everyone in today's session. May we invite Theodore to start the teaching, and may we invite the interpreter Bantes to start the translation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
And now we will pay homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Today we will continue talking about Sangharupakhanyana, Paṭipadāñāṇadassanavisuddhi. Actually, Sangharupakhanyana, the knowledge of equanimity towards formation, have many different names according to the condition they have. It also called Sikkhapada because it has reached the supreme state of training. Actually, it also can be Sikkha. Sikkha means head. The head of training also possible. It also called Uttanagamini. Uttanagamini means it is because it's go towards emergence. I mean, it will emerge from the object and the base, or also can be emerged from defilements and aggregates and many other things. So he also mentioned emerging Uttana means the path Magga, because the path emerge by turning away from external signs. So here when we say external signs, I think this also can be considered as an external object. Now this is, we can also understand external base, external objects. Also can be another one by abandoning into the object of attachment. Although we say it also can be defilements, any kind of defilements. So that means when we have many different attachments to aggregates, also it also can be any internal or external. So abandoning, clinging to object of attachment means it can be aggregates, defilements, or anything. And by cutting off inner process. So that means here we say inner process. Inner process means internal defilements, internal aggregates. So therefore, since this insight goes toward the parts, it's so-called Uttanagamini. In other words, it is that strike together with the parts. So then we strike together with the part. That's why this is also called Uttanagamini. Actually, there are many other ways to explain something about this Uttanagamini. Actually, we have many different states of emergence. Then we have to move the next one. The next one is outline of emergence. Okay, here we have already mentioned briefly, having internally, one emerges from internally. What does it mean? So having emerges internally, so sometimes we just enter into internal formations. That means we just and besides focusing on internal namarubats. So if we say formation, this also equal to namarupas aggregate. So that means by practicing or by contemplating internal namarupa as anicca, dukkha, anatta, then we can also emerge. This is also called Sankarupa Jnana. So having internally, one emerges from externally. Okay, one more thing here. So that means in the very beginning, we will do internally. But although we do internally, that's not enough to take part in fruition knowledge. That is why we have to do external one also. So that means external we have many different meanings here. So that means it can be other living beings, namarubats. Namarubats or all other living beings. It depends on the barami and aspiration and many different conditions. There will be different types of insight power. So as ordinary arhats, we can do general external namarubats. Anyway, the main thing is we also have to discern external namarubats. It can be living things, also can be non-living things. We also have to contemplate external namarupa as anicca, dukkha, anatta. So then we can also understand both. He may practice internally, sometimes externally. Actually, we already mentioned before in our previous topic. When our inside knowledge becomes very powerful, it depends on the condition we have. We have different options. Sometimes only namas, sometimes only rupas, sometimes external, sometimes internal. We can do as it's become obvious. Okay, that's why if we can do only internal, sometimes external, after that we can take part in fruition knowledge. This is also called having internally and emerge from externally. This is also possible. So another thing is sometimes we just do externally. And here, having externally, one emerge from externally. So that means sometimes we will do only externally. At the time we were taking part in fruition knowledge. Then we can also say this is having externally, one emerges from externally. Again, having entered externally, one emerges from internally. Okay, here again, we should repeat previous statements. So there will be different options. Only externally also we cannot attain part in fruition knowledge, but we also have to do internally both. That's why the next one, having externally, one emerges from internally. So as we have mentioned before, we have to do both internally and externally. Then later we will attain part in fruition knowledge when we are contemplating internally. Although we start with external one, but the last one we attain part in fruition knowledge is internal. By understanding internal namarubats. So these four are combined together. Okay, now we have to move the next group. Having entered into materialities, one emerges from materialities. So for this kind of case, in the very beginning, we may discern only materialities. We may also practice Buddha Rupa, that means 4 elements. Another the Upada Rupa. Upada Rupa means all direct materialities. But then we will combine together all the nama, all the rupas, both four elements and derived materialities. So that means if we just do materialities alone, we're going to attain path and fruition only also, right? Then the next one, we have to descend mentality also. So that means, although we are descending materiality in the very beginning, later we have to do 5 aggregate method, for example. In the 5 aggregate method, we have material aggregate, is very clear. Then we may also descend feeling aggregate, perception aggregate, formation aggregate, consciousness aggregate. But if we divide into 2 groups, material aggregate is a rupa, feeling aggregate, perception aggregate, formation aggregate, consciousness aggregates are nama. So we may divide into 2 different groups. Now we may contemplate that as anicca, dukkha, anatta. So it also can be sometimes materialities, sometimes mentalities. It can be alternative way. So that is why this also mentioned having entered into materialities, but one emerges from the mentalities. That's also important. So the main thing is we can take part in fruition knowledge by understanding mentalities or materialities. But it doesn't mean we have to do only one side. We have to do both mentalities and materialities. Okay, now we have to understand the say. Having entered materialities, having entered into mentalities, one emerges from mentality. That is mentalities. So that means in the very beginning, we start with mentalities. But later we will descend materialities. So there will be the next one. If we combine together, 4 together, right? For example, having entered into mentalities, one emerges from materialities. But if we combine all these 4 together, we have to understand a few different things. That is, we can focus the clearer one. If rupa is clearer, focus on rupa. If nama is clearer, focus on nama. So we have already mentioned we can start with either namas or rupas, as we have mentioned in nama meditation. It depends on our condition also. Okay, I have to repeat previous topic, previous statement, in the very beginning of nama rupa discernment. So we have attained jhana. We can start with either nama or rupa. Because we have attained jhana. That is why we can enter into the jhana, imagine from jhana, we can descend jhana dhamma, after that descend rupa. This is also possible. Alternatively, we descend rupa, after that go to nama, also possible. For pure personal vehicle, since they haven't attained any jhana, that's why they cannot enter into jhana. So for them, they have to start with rupa meditation. I'd rather go to nama. So that is why it depends on our foundations. If we attain jhana, more options. If we don't attain jhana, we may have only one way, rupa to nama. If we attain jhana, we can choose either one, rupa to nama or nama to rupa. Okay, briefly, when we can practice better and better, when our insight knowledge becomes stronger, as we have mentioned in our previous talk, we have to follow only obvious one. When nama is obvious, there's only nama. When rupa becomes obvious, there's rupa. That means we have to contemplate nama or rupa as anicca, dukkha, anatta. So these 4 are combined together. Then again, it emerges at one stroke from 5 aggregates. This is the one thing, one stroke. So that means in this case, we have to understand a few more things. What does it mean? One strokes, right? So here in this case, we may discern any of aggregate as anicca, dukkha, anatta. Then he also mentioned we can also practice very clearly. Then we can take part in future knowledge, understanding all the five aggregate, right? Now, okay, one more thing here. You may have already known this kind of Pali words. Yangaji Samudaya Dhamma, Sabide, Nirodha, that kind of things, right? That means all the formations that arise. We can also say another one. Whatever subject to arisings, all that is subject to cessation. We can find this kind of statement in many, many parts. Okay? If we say whatever formation arise, they are subject to cessation. Right? Yangaji Samudaya Dhamma, Sabide, Nirodha Dhamma. That means all the formations, any kind of nama rupas that arise, then they will perish or they will cease. Also, at the moment, when we have the, whenever the Buddha says that kind of statement, we can also understand that is called one stroke from five aggregates. So, for example, you may have known about Venerable Konanya, Anyasi Konanya, right? Danganya Samudaya Dhamma, Sabadi Nirodha Dhamma. We have that kind of understanding. That means it emerged at one stroke from five aggregates. So this is also very common in Buddha teaching. Now we have another one. Having entered with the perceptions of impermanent. Once emerges from impermanence. This is also one of the things. So we may contemplate all the formation as anicca, dukkha, anatta. Here the main thing is anicca. Of course, by contemplating anicca alone, we cannot attain path and future knowledge. We also have to do dukkha, anatta. Okay, one more thing here. When insight knowledge becomes very strong, if we can see one, we can see three. Be careful with this one. Okay, we have to understand this one. As soon as our insight knowledge becomes very powerful, although we are contemplating anicca, dukkha, anatta, finally, we have to change the system. That means when anicca becomes very obvious, just contemplate as anicca. When dukkha becomes obvious, just contemplate as a dukkha. When anatta becomes obvious, just contemplate as anatta. That's the way we have to understand. That is why here in this case, when we can understand all the nama rupas as anicca, we can also understand dukkha, anatta at the same time. That is why here we can say easier way. Having entered with the perceptions of impermanence, one emerges from impermanence. So that means here, imagine we attain path and future knowledge. That means insight knowledge meet together with the path knowledge. So similarly, having entered with the perceptions of impermanence, one emerges from perceptions of suffering or non-self. Although the same, right? So sometimes, although we contemplate suffering or non-self, that means when we are contemplating suffering or non-self, we can take part in future knowledge. This is also possible, having entered impermanence, but he emerged with suffering or non-self. Okay, now here again, having entered with the perceptions of suffering. This is another one. Right? Then again, one emerges from suffering or with impermanence or with non-self. That means it's also the same. Although we do only anicca or dukkha or anatta, I already mentioned, we can see all of the three at once. But on the last one in this slide, having entered with the perceptions of non-self, one emerges from non-self or with impermanence or with suffering. Okay, then these three are one group. So if we have this kind of understanding, that means although we do only one characteristics, such anicca or dukkha or anatta, we can see three of them. Then in the very beginning, we are doing just only anicca. We can also see dukkha, anatta at the same times. But when we can really understand dukkha, we can also attain path and fruition knowledge. These are called emergent. Okay, here the meaning of emergent means attaining path and fruition knowledge. We have to understand this one a little bit clearer and easier. Okay, now we have to move the next one. The 12th simile. Okay, it will be very, very long explanation because it's altogether 12 different types of simile for this kind of insight knowledge. So there can be many different other explanations, but here I will start one by one. Okay, the first one, the bat. You may have known this kind of flying animal. They are hanging on the tree mostly, right? So that means the bat. What does it mean, the bat? Actually, here, when we say the bat, it means there will be a bat, then it thought, okay, I will find the flower or the fruit in the trees. So it hides itself in the honey trees with 5 branches. We can say 5 branches, right? And having touched one branch, it saw no flower, no fruit there. Then that's why he moved to the next branch, second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth branches. But he didn't find anything in the branches also. After that, thought, oh, I cannot get anything in this tree. And it abandoned the trees, climbed straight up another branch and lit its head between the branches, looked upwards, flew into the sky, landed on another fruit trees. This is the simile of the bat. Okay, now we have to give example of this one. The bat means meditators. Honey trees with 5 branches, that means 5 clinging aggregates. So the bat hiding in the trees, that means the meditators practicing 5 aggregate methods. Touching each branches, finding nothing, like a yogi examining each aggregate, finding no substances there. Then as the bat dance, I cannot find any tree here, any fruit here. Similarly, the meditator may experience the knowledge of disenchantment, desire for release. That means Visuddhimagga, right? After that, Patisambhidamagga reflection. Climb up the tree branches like a conformity knowledge, Anuloma jnana. Then raising his head to look upwards. This is a change of lineage. This is the one thing, right? After that, flying into the sky is like a part of fruition knowledge. It's a part of knowledge, sorry. Then it will go to another trees. Fruition tree. This is like a fruition knowledge. That's simile or bat. Another one. A deaf serpent. Okay, one more thing here. Deaf serpent Then you can also imagine the serpent is totally dead, right? You cannot hear anything. Actually, we can also understand like although we say serpent is again like a snake, right? Like a very big, like cobra, that kind of thing also possible. Okay, one more thing. Mostly the serpent or any snake, when they are going to move to another tree, right? So their tail will be one tree. After their head will look for somewhere. After that, they will land on another branch of another tree. They will move to that tree. So here in this case, we're gonna say this the landing on the tree. You may have already mentioned. We can find that one in Visuddhimagga. Okay, that one is a sorry. That one is the man. He trying to catch the fish like eel, for example. This is like mostly like a snake, right? Catch eel, but unluckily he hold the head of snake. He pull out. He saw this is a snake. Then he throw away, and he ran away. Okay, this is the example we already mentioned in Visuddhimagga. Okay, here in this case, that means when seeing the snake, we know that's dangerous, right? After that, we will throw away. This is like a change of lineage. After escaping, he may looking back. Escaping, or I have already escaped. This is called path knowledge. Standing in the safety place, this is like a fruition knowledge. This is also called a deaf serpent. Actually, there are many other things to say. We have already talked about many examples in previous topic, especially in Visuddhimagga. That's why I will not say very much in detail. Okay, now we have to move. The next one is the burning house. Okay, in burning house also, there's one simile. So a householder, after eating in the evening and went upstairs to rest, while he slept, the house caught fire. When awakened and seeing the fire, he thought, "Oh, I do not get out. If I do not get out, I will die." Looking around, he saw the exit. He went out, ran quickly, and stood in a safety place. That is the example. Okay, now here, according to practitioners, lying down to sleep after eating is like ordinary waddling, grasping the five aggregates, I or mine. Right? We may have like this is the I or this is the mine. This is like a sleeping. So mostly we have this kind of perception, right? This is the I, this is the mine. Waking and then seeing the fire is like entering upon right practice and perceiving the mark that means as anicca dukkha anatta. Or we can also say, Paṭipadāñāṇa, seeing as a danger. We already mentioned about Bhayāñāṇa before. After that, he may look for exist. I mean, he may saw the exists. It's like a desire for release. Mojjitukamya. After that, he will see the path. I mean, he went out through the exist. Then we see the path like a conformity knowledge. Then he got out to the house. This is a change of lineage. He running very quickly. It's like a path knowledge. Standing in safety place, like fruition knowledge. So this is also one of the example mentioned about burning house. Okay, now we have another example, the cattle. Okay, the cattle also a little bit interesting here. Maybe you may have seen how farmer have to take care of the cattle, right? In the YouTube or somewhere, in any documentary. But now modern society, it will be a little bit different. Especially in developed country, it will be different, right? But in Myanmar, we still have that kind of culture. That means in the summer, we release all our cattle, go anywhere they like, because no more aggregation. That means no more plantation. That's why they can eat whatever thing they like. We set them free. Then when it start raining, we will collect all the cow and bull to their own stable again. Okay, this is a tradition in Myanmar now. Okay, here a farmer and a cattle, then that means all his cattle broke the pants and he just run off. When the farmer arrived at the dawn, he saw the tracks. Then he could not see any cows or bulls there. He just see the pen is empty, but he saw the tracks of their footprints. Now follow them. But on the way, all the tracks are messed up. Then finally, he found some cattle in one groove. Actually, all the cattle belong to the king. He thought, these are my cattle. Then he dropped them back to the pen. When the day break, the dawn rise, right? By mistake, is it a down time that he made by mistakes? Not totally bright, not so bright, only dark. That's why he misunderstands. But when day break, hey, he recognized, oh, these are the king's cattle. If somebody know I take king's cattle, I will be punished as a thief. So he left them go quickly. Then they also run, right, very quickly. He also ran very quickly for safety. Okay, these are the example. Okay, we have to compare. The making king cattle is his own. That means clinging aggregate as mine or I, having that kind of perception. Recognizance, right? Oh, this is it. Not mine. That means this king's belonging. Okay, that means when we can contemplate as anicca, dukkha, anatta, we can know, oh, these are not mine. This belongs to the king. Then fear of being caught is like a knowledge of fearfulness. That means Paṭipadāñāṇa, Bhaya. The wish to give up is a desire for release. Mujjhitukamyadañāṇa. So that means the act of giving them up, that means he give up all the cattle, is the change of lineage, Kota-buññāna. Fleeing quickly is like a path knowledge. Or standing in the safety place is like a fruition knowledge. Phalāñāna. These are the example. Now we have another one is the all grapes. Now this is also one of the things we have to understand. Okay, in the assembly mentioned, a man lived with an ogress. He didn't recognize she is an ogress. So that means they will be together. One day, when he was sleeping, then the ogress went out. Then it went to China ground and eat human flesh. When he wake up, he followed his wife. He saw her devouring corpse. Realized, oh, she's a demon. Terrified, and he fled swiftly to a safe place. This is just an example. Okay, now here living with organisms like living with cycling aggregate as I or mine. So we have already mentioned that one before, right? Many times about in Buddha teaching, we can find Itamama, Isamasmi, Isomi, Adam. We have that kind of statement in many, many different suttas. Many suttas. We can find in many, many parts of Tipitaka. So that means we may have that kind of understanding. This is the mind, this is the I, this is myself, that kind of understanding. After that, seeing eating human flesh in the cemetery is like recognizing anicca, dukkha, anatta or five aggregates. Fear is like a knowledge of fearfulness, like 𝐕𝐢𝐬𝐻, Paṭipadāñāṇadassanavisuddhi. Wishing to flee is like desire for release. Even the cemetery is like a change of lineage. Running swiftly is like a path knowledge. Standing in safety is like a fruition knowledge. These are the example. Okay, now we have another one, the chime. Okay, when we say the chime here is in the example, so a woman is if the woman loves her chime too much, one day, right? So when she was sitting upstairs, although she hear a child crying on the street, thinking, oh, this is my child in trouble. She rushed down, and although she just pick up another woman's child, thinking it's her. After carrying, after holding, she realized later, oh, this is not my child. Then she felt ashamed and fearing reproach. Immediately, she released the child, returned upstairs, and sat down again. Okay, this is the example, the simile. Okay, here we have to elaborate about meditation. Grasping another child as a her own is like a grasping, fighting aggregate as an I or mine or myself. Realizing it's not mine, this other child. That is understanding as anicca, dukkha, anatta. Then her shame and fear. Right? That means fearing reproach. That is the knowledge of fearfulness. 𝐕𝐢𝐬𝐻. Looking here and there, it's like a desire for release. Putting down the child is like a conformity knowledge. 𝐵𝑛𝑢𝑙oma-ஞාன. Standing in the streets after putting it down is like a change of lineage. 𝑘ُṭṭara-bunyāna. Climbing the stairs is like a path knowledge. Sitting down again is like a fruition. This is the simile we can find in Visuddhimagga. Actually, we also have other example here. The small touch. Also, heat, cold, darkness, poison. These are also the example. Okay, when we talk about hunger or thirst, so you can also understand how do you feel when you feel hungry or when you feel thirsty, right? So here we have to talk about this one. In this example also, when our minds incline to Nibbana, we get the supramental state, then we can have all these simile. So again, here, when we are very, very thirsty or very hungry, then we may expect or may long for water, drink, or food. Okay, now here, similarly, there are many people, they are waiting for Nibbana, longing for Nibbana. when we are longing for Nibbana, Gagadasati, okay, you may know Gagadasati means 32 body parts, right? That means he may wait for or longing for this kind of maybe good nutriment or good food. So we can also understand, well, we are in a samsara. We are going around samsara. We are hungry, thirsty for liberation. That's why when our mind inclined to liberation, let me do it in Nibbana. Of course, whatever object will be suitable for us. But here it mentions Gagadasati, the 32 body practice. Okay, here again, when we say thirsty also, right? When we are thirsty, okay, that means you may see in our throat, right? When our throat become very dry, then we may long for drink, any drink, or give me water or any kind of drink. So similarly, in the samsara, right, we are thirsty all the time. That is why if we have Noble Eightfold Path as our beverage or water, any kind of juice, I mean, Noble Eightfold Path can be any kind of juice. We may wait for it. Okay, here again, a man afflicted by cold. Sorry, that's also we can say as well. By cold, longs for heat. So that means if we catch cold, then we may long for heat. Right? We're going to warm up our body. So similarly, meditator, when we are catched by cold of craving and other defilements, that we may long for heat. That means the path, the bad defilement. So here, when we say the path, that means noble path. We can also understand like a Magga Jnana, right? We can also say Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, again now, we also say cold, right? That means if we are afflicted by heat, we will long for cold. We are, for example, okay, now you may not have that kind of experiences. Summer is very, very hot. Even our like farm or aircon cannot help us, for example. When we get that kind of heat, of course, we are longing for cold. Okay, similarly, when we are touched by fever or 11 fires, okay, if we say easily, for example, the fire of greed, hatred, delusion, lamentation, grief, agents, that kind of fever, right? That kind of fires. So at that time, we may long for the cool of peacefulness of Nibbana, where there is no fire. That means no defilement. Then again here, darkness, again. Okay, here you can also understand similar example. When we are in the darkness, we may long for the light. Similarly, all the meditators, when we are in the darkness of ignorance, we may wait for the light of wisdom, the illumination of path development. This is also called darkness, according to this example. Then, although we say illuminations of path development, it also means Visuddhimagga, noble path. Not only that means afflicted by poison, the last one, the poison, right? Longing for medicine that can counteract poison. Similarly, when we are afflicted by poison or defilements, we were longing for deathless medicine of Nibbana. So this will counteract the poison, or it will totally cure the poison in the body. They are poison or defilements. Okay, these are the example mentioned in Visuddhimagga about Sankarupa Kanyana. Okay, now the last one, like thirst, heat, right? Also like cold, darkness, poison. Actually, these are inclination to what? Nibbana. How our mind inclined to Nibbana when our insight knowledge become mature and stronger. Okay, now we have to move the next part as the practitioners about jhana. Actually, we have already mentioned when we talk about Abhidhamma, maybe many years ago, maybe a few years ago. Even if the part arises in one who is a mere dry insight meditator, Upasaka, or in one who enter attainment without using jhana as a basics. See, when the part arises, it is reckoned as first jhana base. Okay, here I should elaborate a few more. Whether you are practicing samatha vehicle or vipassana vehicle, in every attainment, every part and fruition attainment will associate with jhana. This is the main thing we have to understand. Okay, now here, today's specification. Likewise, when one uses the first jhana as the basics and examine miscellaneous formations, the part arises is reckoned as first jhana base. Okay, here we can say foundation jhana. That means first jhana as a foundation. Based on first jhana, then we may practice in vipassana, all the formations, all the namarupas as anicca dukkha anatta. When we gain part and fruition knowledge, that means that part and fruition knowledge will associate with the first jhana. The four earlier stage of insights, the practice may be accompanied by either joy, that means piti, or by equanimity. But at the moment of emergence, upon reaching state of equanimity towards formations, regarding formation, Sankarupa Kanyana, it is a joint accompanied. Then it will be piti associated. Okay, the main thing is in the very beginning as the basics. Basic jhana is, for example, the fourth jhana or the fifth jhana. No piti, right? But later, when we contain Sankarupa Kanyana, it will be associated with piti. This is also the statement we have to understand. Okay, we have to move the next one. When the part is produced with the second, the third, or the fourth jhana as the basics, then the jhana is correspondingly 4 factors, 3 factors, 2 factors. Yet, in all cases, there are always 7 part factors. In the fourth jhana, there are 6 enlightenment factors. This is distinction determined by basic jhana, also by insight. Okay, here one more thing. It doesn't here mention, right? It just mentioned here based on the first jhana, second jhana, the third jhana, fourth jhana. Also, you have already known jhana factors. Right? 4 jhana factors, 3 jhana factors, 2 jhana factors, right? Then all the part knowledge arise according to this jhana. So here again, 7 part factors. Why does it mention 7 part factors? Vitaka. Sammasankappa. So when we can take path and fruition knowledge with the second jhana, no vitaka. That's why only 7 noble paths, factors there. So in the 4th jhana, there are only 6 enlightenment factors. Why is mentioned like that? So you can also imagine enlightenment factors, right? 6 enlightenment factors. We have 7 enlightenment factors. Why is 6 enlightenment factors? No BT. That's why it can be only 6 enlightenment factors. So that means whenever path and fruition arises, there can be no Eightfold Path, there can be enlightenment factors. For even here, the preceding insight may be accompanied by either joy or by equanimity. But the Uttanagamini insight leading to emergence is only equanimity accompanied. This is the one thing, right? So that means in the 4th jhana, it can be only equanimities. Or the preceding will be, of course, it can be with PT or without PT, it doesn't matter. But when Uttanagamini, emergent, it will be equanimity accompanies. This is also one of the things we have to understand. Okay, now one more step here about 5th jhana. When the path is produced with the 5th jhana as the basics, then in terms of the 2 jhana factors, equanimity in one point in it, is reckoned together with the 6 or 7 enlightenment factors. The distinction is the 2 is established both by basis jhana and by insight. Okay, here, equanimity in one point in it. We have mentioned 6 or 7 enlightenment factors. Why is it mentioned 6 or 7 enlightenment factors? Right? So we also mentioned distinction 2 established both by basis jhana and by enlightenment. Actually, if 5th jhana, it must be only upekkha, equanimity, no BT. It can be only 6. Why it becomes 7? So actually, we have to understand a few different things. Vedic jhana is one thing. Another thing is contemplation jhana is one thing. But sometimes it will follow contemplation jhana. Sometimes it can also follow basic jhana. So we also have another part later. In this way, when one emerges from jhana is some formations, the path arises very close to jhana. Very close to the jhana. That means it depends on basic jhana also, right? And recent attainment becomes similar to the character to it. Just as a lizard resembles the ground on which it rests. So that means you have seen many different types of lizard, right? The ground color and lizard color are the same. According to the ground they live, it can be different color. So here I will mention basic jhana, also another examine formation. That means contemplation jhana. So that means the path arises very close to that jhana. Be careful that one, right? So attainment also similar to any of these 2. Okay, now we have to move the next one. The second Theravada opinion. Whenever one emerges from attainment and contemplates the materialities belonging to the attainment, the path that arises is similar to that very attainment. And here too, fiction by insight is to be understood in the same way as explained above. Actually, when I write Abhidhamma before. We have already mentioned 3 different conditions of path and fruition knowledge, especially Maggaphala and jhana association. The first one is Padaka, basics, Samasanami, contemplation. Now that's it. Bhogla Jasaya, it depends on personal tendency or inclination. Okay, here it has mentioned one emerge from attainment and contemplate mentality materialities belong to the attainment. That means, for example, we enter the first jhana, emerging from that, we just discern first jhana, nama dhamma, rupa dhamma. That's the main thing we have to say. When we attain path and fruition knowledge, it will be first jhana associated. Path and fruition knowledge. We have to understand this one, as we mentioned before. Okay, now the third Theravada opinion. The next one. According to one's own disposition, ajasaya. Okay, I mentioned here, that is ajasaya, Pukala jasaya. His own disposition or inclination. That means habitude also possible. Whichever jhana is taken as the basics, whichever jhana states are examined, that means contemplates, then the path that arise similar to the very jhana. But apart from taking basic jhana or examining jhana, it cannot succeed merely by disposition. Okay, here is also very messy, right? So that means, so we must have basic jhana in any condition. Right? That means without basic jhana, we cannot do any Chaturkanada. This is the one thing. So another thing here, disposition. We can also say inclination or habitual. Preferring also possible. For example, although we have attained a attainment, for example, right? But we just like only that jhana is our favorite, for example. Our mind will incline to that jhana more than we will do many contemplation. Of course, without basics, we cannot attain that jhana also, right? So in this kind of case, it can be, we can say, Pukala jasaya. That means his own inclination, habitual jhana. Here too, by fixing the insights to be understood, as already explained. It thus should be known as Sangarupa jnana, determine the enlightenment factors, path factors, jhana factors. Okay, this is about Sangarupa jnana, the last jhana dhamma, sorry, the last insight knowledge. Okay, now we should talk about the last part. Okay, no, we cannot say the last part also, right? We just talk about Paṭipada. 4 types of Paṭipada. Dukkha Paṭipada Danda Pinya, practicing with difficulty and sluggish attainment. Dukkha Paṭipada Khipa Pinya, practicing with difficulty but attainment. Sukha Paṭipada Danda Pinya, easy to practice but sluggish attainment. Dukkha Paṭipada Khipa Pinya, easy to practice but with attainment. Actually, we have already mentioned all these things before when we talk about Abhidhamma. Anyway, I should elaborate a few more steps here, not that much in detail. Okay, standing at this stage leading to emergent Sangarupa jnana give to the path, it is designation. Hence, the path receives 4 names. Okay, here we have the next part. The next part means Paṭipada. Right? Paṭipada means, okay, we should elaborate a few more. Moreover, it's practically may differ. For some monks, it varies among the 4 parts. For others, it's only one in the same in all 4. Okay, here also simile. Example. But for the Buddha and Venerable Sariputta, all 4 parts are pathwaya, Sukha Paṭipada, Khipa Pinya, easy to practice and attainment. Okay, you can also imagine the one. Venerable Sariputta could attain path and fruition very easily, right? That means after listening short discourse. in the very beginning, Paṭipadāñāṇadassanavisuddhi. For higher knowledge also, after listening, Jigannaka Sutta. For Erama Moggallana, however, the first part, the Sotapanna, was Sukha Paribara Kripa Penya. He could attain very easily, very quickly. While the three higher ones were Dukha Paribara, Danda Penya. Even very great person, he had to encounter difficulty. So, just as the practice differed, so too predominant factors, faculties, chanda, viriya, citta, vimamsa may vary. Of course, it depends on our predominant factors. We may have different quality of the mind. It's also very practical in our daily life, right? When we are doing very willingly, chanda, when we are very diligent, when we are well focused, when we have very good wisdom faculties, we can achieve everything easily. When one of them become weaker, of course, it will become slower. If two of them become weaker, it will become slower than before. If three of them become weaker, we cannot achieve as we wish. Right? This is also predominant factors. They are also important in the practice. Okay, now we have to talk about the last part for today. It will be really the last part for today's Dhamma talk. So the Paṭimagga receives its destination in 5 ways. We can also find this kind of explanation in many parts. So the first one, by opposition, Pachanika. Sorry, the first one is by essence. Right? Sarasena, that means sarasa. According to 3 Vimamgas. If Sankarupa Jnana, while contemplating formation as impermanent, emerge, then liberation occurs by cycleless deliverance. Animita Vimamga. Okay, be careful with that one. Impermanence and animita, they are a pair. Be careful. Whenever we talk about animita, it means impermanent. This is very common in Buddha teaching. Even in Visuddhimagga Sangha, we can find that kind of statement. If one contemplating as suffering, it emerges, then liberation occurs by desireless deliverance, apanihita vimamga. Okay, here's one more pair, be careful. Suffering and apanihita. These are pair. Whenever we talk about suffering, we have to remember apanihita. So later you will read many suttas. You may read many Dhamma articles. So try to remember these two, suffering and animita. Now, if one contemplating as a non-self, it emerges, then liberation occurs by emptiness deliverance. Sunyata vimamga. Be careful, non-self and sunyata. So you have to remember these 3 in every single teaching. Whenever the Buddha say animita, apanihita, sunyata, try to remember anicca, dukkha, anatta. These are pair. This is called by rasa, by essence. Now we have to go next one, by opposition, number 2, pachanika. Because contemplation of impermanence break up the compactness of formations and abandon the notions of permanence, stability, eternity, that is also called cycleless, animita. Again, impermanence and animita. Let me also mention impermanence and compactness of formations are opposite. So that means we can abandon the notions of permanence, stability, eternity. Because of contemplation of suffering, abandons the perceptions of pleasure and suppressed longing, wishing, and desire. Therefore, it's called desireless apanihita. Again here, suffering and apanihita. When we have very strong perceptions of suffering, Then we don't have any perceptions of pleasure. These are opposite, right? Pleasure and suffering are opposite. Because the contemplations of non-self abandon the perceptions of self and being and person, and also see formation as empty. Therefore, it's called emptiness, sunyata. Again, here, non-self and sunyata. When we have very strong perceptions of non-self, no more perceptions of self, being, or person. These are opposite. Okay, now we have to move to the next one, buying quality, saguna. Because of empty of lust and other defilements is emptiness. Yeah, we can say empty of lust and other defilements, right? These are the quality. No more. Again, because it is without the sign of materialities of lust, the sign of materiality. We have already mentioned sign of materiality before. Nimitta and bhavata, anything, right? In the past, we already mentioned. That is also called cycles. So you can also understand cycles mean animita, right? Then again, because without the purpose of lust, it's the signless, abhanita. Because understand abhanita. So abhanita, animita, sunyata, these are very common, right? I have already mentioned before. We have to combine all these together. Okay, now 4 by object aramana. So nirvana make itself as the object as emptiness, cycless, desireless. Therefore, it's also called sunyata, nimitta, abhanita. Okay, you can also understand 3 different types of nirvana, right? Sunyata, animita, abhanita. 3 ways we can also see nirvana. Okay, now we have to move the next one, number 5. By approach, agamana. So here, approach is twofold. The approach of insight, vipassana, and also the approach of the path, magga. So that means these are 2 types of approach, agamana, right? That means without insight knowledge, we cannot attain path and fruition knowledge. At the path moment, there is the approach of insight, and the fruition, there is approach of the path according to Vimagga. We already mentioned Vimagga. Vimagga means abhanita, animita, sunyata. These are called Vimaggas. Okay, if we say easier way, before path knowledge, there is insight. Before fruition knowledge, there is path knowledge. That's how you can say approach. Path will approach magga. Magga will approach phala. We have to understand this one. But here, the name is not received in Abhidhamma system, but in the Sutta system, for they say, change of lineage knowledge, Visuddhimagga, having taken nirvana as an object in the form of cycles, it stands in the place of approach and give to path the name cycles. Hence the path is called cycles. Correspondingly, fruition also approach, the path is also called cycles. Okay, one more thing. If we say easier way, animita. Since Visuddhimagga is animita, but also animita, fruition also animita. We can understand they are the same. Okay, similarly, if we say abhanihita, so Visuddhimagga also abhanihita, magga also abhanihita, phala also abhanihita. Similarly, sunyata, Visuddhimagga also sunyata, magga also sunyata, phala also sunyata. So they are called by approach, according to 3 Vimaggas. Okay, today I have already finished Sankharupa Jnana. So maybe next week I will continue the next part about path and fruition knowledge. So it will be too heavy for you, I understand. But anyway, this is the last part for heavy topic. Maybe after path and fruition knowledge, maybe I should talk about Paṭipadāñāṇadassanavisuddhi Dhamma. then it will be the last topic for Visuddhimagga class. Okay, may you all be able to practice 3 trainings, and may you all be able to realize final cessation and not suffering.
Thank you, 𝐸𝐴𝐷. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. 𝐸𝐴𝐷, may we now proceed to the Q&A session?
Okay.
Wandami 𝐸𝐴𝐷, I have 2 questions. Number 1, if a yogi aspires to be a future Agga Savaka and one is already practicing Sankharu Upekkha Jnana, if one's aspiration of chief discipleship is not very resolute and firm, is it possible that this yogi will attain Sotapan and will actually miss the chance to go into the Agga Savaka Bodhisatta? Sadhu, sadhu.
Of course, right? If he's not very fun, very resolute, he can change his mind and he could practice vipassana. Of course, if he give up all the aspiration, then he can also attain Sotapanna, Sakara and Nagami, and he attain arhatship. So that means then he must give up to be Agga Savaka, right? Okay, this is possible. Next one.
Wandami 𝐸𝐴𝐷, if a bhikkhu or a sayale who had practiced Anapana at Paṭipadāñāṇadassanavisuddhi for 10 years, still beginner stage, not seeing nimitta, but right now does not have right conditions to stay at Paʻau community or under a qualified teacher, would it be better for one to study Abhidhamma in Myanmar instead of continuing meditating alone without guidance and without good association, while one is currently staying in a community of Thai tradition where he is not encouraged to meditate diligently? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. So that means as long as you are doing something good, then we can also say it's okay. One more thing here, right? Although you study Abhidhamma in Myanmar or anywhere, if not for examination, you may not be that much diligent. This is the one other thing. But another thing, if you are very eager to learn, okay, you will know, you will learn very well. This is the one condition, right? So the main thing is, okay, you can learn Abhidhamma online or something, but you must try to digest everything very smooth and very well. This is also a good thing to do. If you can learn Abhidhamma, of course, later you may know how to balance yourself, how to make yourself more simple. That's also one other thing. Of course, if you can meditate, it's also better. But sometimes you have no choice, right? You cannot meditate because your community is a different community. In this kind of case, you should learn. You should listen more Dhamma talk, more learning. Not only Abhidhamma, you can also learn many suttas. So if you can learn many suttas, you can also know many informations. Later, you will also know what is your weakness for improvement. You can balance better, you can also train better. Okay. Next one.
Wandami 𝐸𝐴𝐷, sorry, I did not quite understand one stroke. When 𝐸𝐴𝐷 was talking about it emerges at one stroke from 5 aggregates, does it refer to any one of the 5 aggregates? The second question is, when practicing vipassana, contemplating internal nama rupa as anicca, dukkha, anatta, sometimes the heart feels a bit painful because of the continuously paying attention to the bhavanga area. Can 𝐸𝐴𝐷 please give advice on how to adjust this? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, for about number 1, then you may have read Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, right? 𝐸𝐴𝐵 Samudaya Dhamma, that kind of statement, right? Okay, if we say easily, all the cause arising nama rupas will perish. That kind of understanding. This is called one stroke, according to the sutta. That means he will know all the aggregates that arise according to the causes where perish or cease. That kind of understanding is called one stroke, right? Okay, another thing is, in this kind of case, we cannot say, right, one by one, right? You cannot say any of one aggregate here. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐽. Okay, that means all. If we say 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐽, that means all, everything, every aggregate, right? It doesn't mean only any of one aggregate. Okay, another thing is for about internal or any practice, as long as you don't force too much, it will be okay. If you use too much mind power to see any body part, you may feel pain. This is the normal, okay? If you can save your mind power, that means that's normal discernment is okay. If you force too much, you may feel pain. Okay, now this one.
Vandami Sayadaw, when contemplating internal nama rupa as anicca, dukkha, anatta, after some time they become not so clear. Then if switched to external nama rupa, objects become clear again. And if switched back to internal nama rupa again, they also become clearer. Is it okay to adjust in this way? Or is it better to go back to established method?
Okay. Okay, it depends on your conditions. For beginner, okay, if you start on the nama rupa, if you're gonna see clearly, of course, you have to establish your concentration. You have to discern nama rupa clearly. After that, go to vipassana. This is for basics, right? So after sometimes, although you do very well in the very beginning, after sometimes when the inside knowledge become very sharp, very strong, then it will be some exception. For example, in the case of after Payanyana or after Pankanyana, meditation state, right? Then you may have that kind of condition, sometimes not very clear, internally not very clear, only externally become very clear. Okay, just do externally. Sometimes only nama is clear, rupa is not very clear. Okay, just do nama. If only Paṭipadāñāṇadassanavisuddhi, you just see rupa khanda is very clear. Okay, just do rupa khanda. When I say khanda is clear, just do vedana khanda. It's changeable when you have mature inside knowledge. Okay, it depends on your condition. You have different conditions. Okay, different discernment. Next one.
Interpreter.
礼记西亚多，初起与之前的观字如行舍字有何不同？沙度沙度沙度。
Okay. Sankhara Jnana is also called Uthana Gamini Vipassana. They are also called Sikkhapada, right? Two different names. They are the name of Sankhara Jnana. Okay, next one.
Vandami Sayadaw, why is insight vipassana always emphasized alongside jhana, regardless of the opinion? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. So one more thing here, right? For samatha vehicle, you may not have attained jhana. This will be exception. Without jhana, you can do vipassana. But anyway, they must attain as a concentration. So then here, opinion. We cannot say opinion. Inside knowledge does not come from opinion, right? It just comes from the practice or maturity of insight. That means without foundation, we're gonna do anything. That's why it must be with jhana. Options, more choice. Without jhana, no more choice. Okay, next one.
Vandami Sayadaw. Sayadaw mentioned basis jhana and contemplation jhana. Can Sayadaw please explain again on what does contemplation jhana refer to? Can the two be different?
Okay, sure. Okay, now we have to say easier way. For example, you establish the first jhana. This is the basic jhana. This is the foundation jhana. After emerging from it, we just contemplate first jhana, nama rupa. This is called contemplation jhana. Okay? Okay. We can also say another one. You may enter into second jhana as a foundation, but you just contemplate first jhana, nama dhamma, as anicca dukkha anatta, for example. Right? Second jhana is the foundation. The first jhana is contemplation. Contemplation jhana. We can understand like that. Okay? The next one.
Vandami Sayadaw. Other teacher in Myanmar taught there are three kinds of samadhi. The first is Kanika samadhi, which I had not heard before. Kana is super short. How can I know is Kanika samadhi or not? My friend does not believe in Kanika samadhi. Buddha's teaching has three parts: Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Samadhi includes Kanika samadhi and Upachara samadhi. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. Yes, actually, many part of meditation teacher, meditation traditions, they will talk about Kanika Samadhi. Another thing, the way they interpret Kanika Samadhi will be a little bit different from the text. Actually, whenever people ask this kind of question, I also show the slides. Okay, but yeah, I don't have the slide in this laptop. Anyway, the main thing is we can also find Kanika Samadhi in the commentary and the sub-commentary. Okay, what is the Kanika Samadhi? It will mention, for example, entering into the first jhana, emerging from it. When we are contemplating jhana dhamma as anicca dukkha anatta, or when we are descending jhana dhamma, at the moment of insight knowledge, Kanika Samadhi arises. That means momentary concentration arises. Okay, if we say easier way, when we are practicing nama rupa, there are momentary rising and apparition. At the time, Kanika Samadhi arises. Okay, that is why Kanika Samadhi also include in Tipitaka, in the commentary and the sub-commentary. But the way they understand it will be a little bit different. Okay, that means we can also have Kanika Samadhi in Vipassana. Okay, it doesn't mean it's short. That means we have to know the momentary arising and passing away of Nama Rupa. At the time, it will be Kanika Samadhi. Without jhana foundation, we cannot know it also, right? The next one.
Vandami Sayadaw. Sayadaw mentioned before realizing Nibbana, one has to keep seeing the five aggregates or Nama Rupa, which is weary. After realizing Nibbana, which is unconditioned and always present, can one maintain mindfulness mainly on peace of Nibbana only, in all posture, thereafter, and no need to keep practicing Vipassana? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
This one is not really called question, right? Only the last part is a question. Okay, we can say Katang Karaniyam. We can say like that, right? But if we say another ship, we say Katang Karaniyam. We have done all we should do. That means we don't need to do any extra, not any extra, no extra job, no extra works after attaining path and fruition, after attaining another ship. Okay? So it depends on what kind of attainment you have. There can be different conditions. Of course, if you haven't attained any handship or path and fruition knowledge, you have to keep doing anicca dukkha anatta, right? The next one.
Vandami Sayadaw, I have one question. Is it necessary to cultivate Sankharupa Upekkha in order to attain stream entry?
Of course, we have to do Sankharupa Jnana, right? Systematically, in order to attain path and fruition knowledge. So that means this also compulsory. Now, one more thing here. If you are very strong, like for example, Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Mahamoggallana, right? They can attain stream entry very easily because they have very long time parami in the past. They have been practicing up to Sankharupa Jnana in many lives. For them, it will be easy. For ordinary people, we have to do all the things until we can attain path and fruition knowledge. Okay, now, next one.
Vandami Siado, how can one know that one has attained liberation through the practice of contemplation on impermanence, suffering, or non-self?
It depends on the last moment you have, right? If you, for example, I already mentioned later when the knowledge become very mature, you just do only anicca. You can also know three. You just do only dukkha, you can also know three, right? That means your knowledge become very sharp. Insight become very sharp, very strong. So when you are contemplating anicca, if you can take part in fusion knowledge, sure, that's very clear. Although you do anicca, you know three already, right? So that is why it depends on the last moment you can know. Next one.
Vandami Siado. Siado mentioned the predominant faculties, Chanda, Viriya, Chitta, Vimamsa. How do these faculties influence one's path type? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, so let alone part and fusion is very, very high quality already, right? Okay, just talk about normal practice. Okay, anapanasati, chanda. So if you are practicing willingly, that means you have very strong chanda. This is one thing, right? Sometimes if you don't practice, somebody will complain. But you live in the monastery, you live in the meditation center. If you don't practice, people will complain. Then you have to go to the meditation hall, practice. That means your chanda is not so strong. You just scare out people. Right? If you're unwilling, not that much effective. But similarly, viriya, effort. It depends on how strong your mind power, how strong your body energy. If you use your body energy, enough bodily energy, enough mind power, you can take. And this is the one thing. That is chitta, focus. Focus only one thing. If you have many things messed up, right? You have to do, I want to do this, I want to do that. No, where focus, you're gonna achieve. Okay, yeah, vimamsa, panya, wisdom. Of course, it's very important. If you know what to do, what not to do, you can practice well. If you confuse, you cannot decide what to do, what not to do. Very strong delusion, you cannot improve, right? So not only path and functionality, even your daily life are decided by these four. For example, your morality. You just follow all the rule and regulation willingly or just for sure, right? This also comes from your mind. Similarly, how strong your body energy, mental energy, your focus, your wisdom, it depends on all these four. Your morality also different. Similarly, your concentration also different. Your wisdom also different. Your insight also different. Your path and vision also different. Okay, that means it will make your mind different. Your attainment slow or fast different. Okay, next one.
Vandami Siado, how can one know that someone has attained noble person? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
What is the question, right?
It's a question.
Noble person or noble path, right?
Noble person.
This is a little bit strange, right? Someone has attained noble person, maybe noble whom you can say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that means we can, as long as we cannot read their mind, we cannot know, right? So their behavior, their lifestyle will be a little bit different than we can guess. Okay, next one. Next one.
Vandami Siado, if I have learned Anapanasati from different teachers of Paṭipadāñāṇadassanavisuddhi Meditation Center in Myanmar and abroad for a long time, and theoretically I understood well the instructions, what to do, and the mistakes to avoid, can I continue to practice by myself without a teacher? If in my current place I can maintain with self-discipline 6 to 7 hours meditation a day, and mostly with suitable conditions of food, silence, seclusion, free time, and I'm able to severe minor and major impediments, Is it possible for me to see the nimitta or even get first jhana without teacher?
Okay, here I'm gonna guarantee, right? But more than knowledge and skill are two different things. So you have already learned many theory. Okay, this is the knowledge. But for about the practice, you need skill. So for example, before see a nimitta, you must know, okay, as you say, what to do, what not to do. After seeing nimitta also, you must know what to do, what not to do. Right? So that means it depends on how skillful you are. There will be possibility. If you are skillful, okay, we can say it's a possibility. If you're not very skillful, it's not possible. I don't know how you are skilled. That's why I cannot say yes or no. Okay? Okay, any other question?
Are there any questions from the floor? Dear Sayadaw, I think there's no more questions. Shall we proceed to close today's session?
Okay.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Sayadaw, thank you very much for your teachings today. And thank you, our interpreter Bantes, for the translation. May we invite Sayadaw to lead us in making aspirations and sharing of merits.
Etavadacha amehi sambadam bunya sambadam sabbe deva numodandu sabbe bhuta numodandu sabbe satta numodandu sabba sambati siriya idame nyatinam hotu sukhita hundu nyadayo idame nyatinam hotu sukhita hundu nyadayo idame nyatinam hotu sukhita hundu nyadayo idame bunyam asawakaya waham hotu idame bunyam nibbanasa pacayo hotu mama bunya bhagam sabasadanam pajemi te sabe me samam bunya bhagam labandu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Sayadaw, and everyone for your time and participation. Till we meet again next Saturday, may all be well and happy. Sadhu,
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 sadhu.
sadhu.